Hi there, I'm Sandy Hart. I'm the Lake County Board Chair. And on behalf of the entire County Board, welcome to our informational meeting to introduce a new proposed countywide paratransit system. Since about the mid-2000s, Lake County, along with townships, municipalities, the Lake County Coordinated Transportation Services Committee, and other transit partners such as PACE, have been working to improve the transportation options for seniors and people with disabilities. Throughout today's meeting, you'll hear this being referred to as paratransit. And this topic has been on our radar for so long because currently there's geographic boundaries due to the boundaries of the different governmental agencies. So as a result, the system that we have is less efficient as we would really like. For example, if you have a doctor's appointment in a different township, but perhaps even just a few miles away from where you live, you probably can't use paratransit to get there. Depending upon the day of the week, you may not be able to get the groceries from or your groceries from a nearby store when you need to, because some systems can really only afford to operate 1 or 2 days a week. And knowing who to contact is also extremely difficult in finding those phone numbers, because again, it depends on where you live in Lake County. So today, I'm really proud to say that Lake County Department of Transportation will be presenting and seeking feedback on a proposed countywide paratransit system for Lake County. Those invisible geographic limitations and boundaries are going to be gone. The service would be borderless throughout Lake County. People can just contact one agency for one consistent paratransit service. And seniors, people with disabilities, and others can get transportation to work, to the grocery store, medical appointments, and much more anywhere throughout Lake County. So on behalf of the Lake County Board, thank you to all of our partners who have committed a countless number of hours over the years to help lead us to this new seamless countywide service. And after the presentation, please know that you are welcome to provide your comments and questions and feedback. We really welcome that. And now I'll pass along to the Lake County Department of Transportation team, who will provide the presentation of the proposed new countywide paratransit system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Hart, for that excellent introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Clemens, the Manager of Transportation Planning at the Lake County Division of Transportation. With me this afternoon on the panel is also Joe Serdam, our Paratransit Coordinator, and Kevin Carrier, Director of Planning and Programming. I want to thank you all for attending today's meeting on this proposed countywide paratransit service. We're excited to present this new potential service model to you. As Chair Hart mentioned, following this presentation, there will be an opportunity to provide feedback to us, comments, questions, and we will be giving this presentation again at 5 p.m. For those who are unable to make it here at 4. So the purpose of today's meeting is to present a new countywide borderless service that moves away from the complex public paratransit that Lake County currently has, and we're calling this service Ride Lake County. So just so everyone is on the same page, the definition of paratransit as we're talking about it today is a shared and flexible on-demand service that responds to rider requests for travel within a defined service area, and it's geared towards people with disabilities or mobility limitations that prevent them from accessing scheduled bus service, or they live outside an area that is served by scheduled bus service. And this comes from the paratransit market study that the county did. So as Chair Hart mentioned, there's been a lot of work over the years that has gone into paratransit from a variety of agencies, as well as the county. 15 years ago, the Lake County Coordinated Transportation Service Committee was formed to help work towards a county-wide paratransit system. In 2010, Ride Lake County West started operating, which was the first coordinated service, followed by Ride Lake County Central. And in 2016, Lake County DOT initiated a paratransit market study, which was finished in 2019 to evaluate evaluated options for paratransit service in Lake County and heard from national best practices around the country of how paratransit is done. There were many recommendations that came out of that study, but the number one top recommendation was to identify a lead agency that would advance paratransit coordination and service improvements in Lake County. So Following completion of the market study in 2019, the Lake County Board created an ad hoc committee, the lead agency working group, to carry through this very recommendation, the top recommendation. That lead agency working group conducted 7 meetings during 2019 and 2020, and was co-chaired by Linda Soto, Lake County's representative on the PACE board, and Kathleen O'Connor, the Libertyville Township supervisor. They heard presentations from many of our partner agencies from throughout the region about how paratransit is done in other counties and other areas in our region, and made a recommendation at the end of their meetings in 2020 that Lake County government serve as an executive sponsor for a new paratransit service to operate countywide. As we began to act on that, we wanted to highlight that we are not the only ones looking at paratransit in our region. And McHenry County has MC Ride program. This map on the left really illustrates that there can be a lot of overlapping services, but that they expanded their service at the beginning of this year to be a true countywide service. So rather having a service with a patchwork of operations based on those who are participating, they moved to a truly countywide service. And so we have some existing services in Lake County. As I mentioned, the Ride Lake County West and Central are shown in the maps on the right on this screen. And those are the 2 coordinated services that we currently have today. And the map on the left shows the really disjointed and complex transportation network that we have for non-fixed route service in the county. According to our paratransit market study, there's between 40 and 50 services operating throughout the county. And so we think that moving to a new countywide borderless service provides a lot of benefits both to the riders and the administration of the service by eliminating those gaps, allowing riders to just call a single agency and book trips throughout the county. We would reduce those overlapping and competing services and have a streamlined set of administration and operations. So the new service, we have some proposed parameters. We propose that the service would operate within this mapped area, basically throughout Lake County, including the municipal boundaries of municipalities that are at least partially located within Lake County. The service would operate 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with the exception of holidays. The fares would be structured based on the distance traveled. So the first 5 miles would be $3, followed by 50 cents for each additional mile beyond 5 miles. And the service would be open to seniors, those ages 60 and above, or individuals with a disability. And based on these projections, we coordinated with PACE, and we estimate around 59,000 annual trips on this service. And these proposed parameters are the initial proposal, and we are still working through the details. We would also monitor ridership once we launch the service and look to see if it could be expanded in ways in the future. So for users of the service, we think this is a really simplified way to get paratransit service. Registration and trip booking would be handled by a single call through a single phone number calling PACE's call center. Riders would be able to book a trip anywhere within this service area throughout the county, so long as either the pickup or drop-off area was in Lake County. Riders could make a reservation as much as 7 days in advance, but could be as close as 2 hours before their ride. However, the closer to a rider calls, the more difficult it is to schedule. So it is recommended to call at least 24 hours in advance. Riders would pay with cash when boarding the vehicle, and the fare would be calculated based on the distance of the trip. And riders could use this service for any types of trips, as Chair Hart mentioned, for going to work, for medical trips, shopping, or recreation. And there would not be a limit on the number of times that people could use this. And so as we look to implement this, we are currently in the stakeholder and public outreach phase of this project. We plan to report out any feedback that we get to the county board in September and possibly have them take action as early as September. And then moving forward, we would develop an intergovernmental agreement with PACE, who would operate the service. And then we would look to execute that agreement, market the service, and roll it out sometime in 2022, possibly as early as the spring. And so with that, that is a brief summary of the service that we're looking to present today. We do have an opportunity for questions and feedback. We will also have a public comment period open starting today for the next 2 weeks through August 18th. Comments, questions could be submitted through our website, a form on our website, via email or phone, and we are open to any feedback that we get. And so we can look to take questions if there are questions.
Mike, hi, it's Alex. Yeah, we got a couple questions in chat, and I know someone raised their hand as well. We'll take the first one that I got in chat through Judy Evans. She's asking, will this service be available to residents of nursing homes? She's aware of services out there, but they charge $50 each way and $4.50 a mile.
So yes, as long as a resident is eligible for the service, being a senior or someone with a disability, they would be eligible to use the service. However, the service is what's called a curb-to-curb service. So users would have to be able to get to the vehicle themselves or have a companion that could assist them in the vehicle, into the vehicle and getting out of the vehicle. Drivers are not able to provide that assistance. So it is what is called a curb-to-curb service.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions now, which is great. Keep on firing away. We definitely have a lot of time for questions and answers. So next one's from Nancy Shaeffer. She's asking, how do you see the service integrating with existing township ride services?
So we think that this service will provide an umbrella service throughout the county and allow people to use to book trips throughout the county. And it really will ultimately be up to individual townships to decide if they want to roll their service into this service or keep it as an existing service. What we are planning to do, and I didn't mention during the presentation, is so we are planning to combine the existing PACE subsidies that are provided throughout the county to the existing services and roll them into this Ride Lake County service, and that the service would be funded through those PACE subsidies, federal funding, and Lake County funds, and we would not be seeking additional funding from municipalities or townships. So we see this as an umbrella service, and that if the townships wanted to add service on top of our service, that they would be free to do so.
Thank you. Yeah, questions are rolling in, which is awesome. This is from Joan White. I apologize if I said your name incorrectly, but when an appointment is made for a pickup at a certain time, is there still a 1 hour window before a bus may actually show up?
So PACE has a 30-minute window that they consider to be on time. So if a ride is booked at 9 a.m., if it showed up between 9 and 9:30, it would be considered on time. They do also take into account the length of the trip and the distance, the time traveled, so that if someone is booking a trip, say for a doctor appointment, they will take into account when they need to be at that appointment and that 30-minute pickup window to schedule the time to ensure that they can get to their doctor appointment on time.
Okay, the next question is from Linda Soto. She's asking, who and what age is considered a senior citizen?
So right now, it is considered anyone 60 or above would qualify for seniors under this proposed service.
Okay, Valerie Forte is asking, can you schedule a pickup on Sundays?
Yes, you can. The service would operate 7 days a week with the exception of holidays. There is limited staffing for PACE's call center on the weekend, so those rides could be booked on Friday for trips on the weekend, but it is possible to call the call center and get same day trips. But yes, Sunday rides are available.
This question's from Henry. Could we pay with the charge card when we book the trip? Cash is difficult to have the exact fare.
So we will have to work with Pace on that as the operator of the service. But right now with the other paratransit services that are operated in the region, it is a cash system. And so we anticipate that initially this would be a cash system as well. You know, that is something that could be looked at in the future. We would just need to coordinate that with Pace, who is our partner in operating the service.
Thank you. This question's from Robin Weller. Robin's asking, what type of buses will be used in this service?
So all the buses are ADA accessible vehicles. This is a shared ride service, so it could be possible that riders will use other trips, but these are basically on demand, smaller vehicles, but that could hold a few passengers at a time.
Okay, next question is from Alice Birch. Alice is asking, what happens if a trip is scheduled but it is canceled?
So Pace does ask for at least 2 hours notice in cancellations. You know, if a rider is, you know, if things get canceled, you know, that there is possibility that, you know, if there are consistent cancellations, that a rider may not be able to use the service. If a vehicle is not available when a rider is trying to book it, the call center will inform them of that and work with them to try to find an alternate time when there is availability.
Next question from Molly Cullum. Molly's asking, do we have a budget estimate that corresponds to this proposal? Molly's curious to understand the estimated cost and sources of funding.
So we do have some rough estimates from Pace based on the parameters that we have. They assume a certain level of ridership based on the parameters that we have in the existing levels of service. We anticipate the overall operating costs for both the operating the service and the call center to be a little over $2 million a year. We anticipate that Pace subsidies would be able to pay for a portion of this, and that federal funding would be able to pay a portion of this, and then the county would provide the local share to match those federal funds and anything that isn't covered by federal funding and Pace subsidies. We have an estimated range for those services between $600,000 and $1 million, but it is still to be determined, you know, how much those would be and what the parameters of the service would look like. So right now, these are budget estimates, but not final numbers.
Okay, the next question is from Joan again. How many buses are available to handle the 59,000 annual trips?
That is a question that I would have to look to Pace on the number of vehicles. You know, I don't know how many vehicles they have. Pace would be the operator of the service, so that is something that we could look into and try to find out. I don't have a good answer on that one.
Okay, thank you. And just a note to you know, if we don't get to a certain question or if we have to get back to someone, we do, when you registered through Zoom, we do have your email address, so we may be able to get back to people here. And everyone's always welcome to email dot.lakecounty.gov or just give us a call too, or fill out the form on paratransit input. So there's various ways too. So we appreciate everyone. So yep, I'm still going down through the list though. So next one's from Justin. Justin's asking or saying, thank you for communicating the updates. Justin is asking, just to be clear, are personal aids to the disabled riders able to join the ride and pay the same fare rate?
So there is a distinction with riders that between what they call a personal care assistant, someone who is helping a rider on and off of the vehicle. That person could ride for free. A companion fare, someone who's just traveling with a person would pay the regular fare.
Thank you. We have a couple people raising their hand, and one is actually, I believe, Lake County Board Member Paul Frank. So I'm going to allow Paul to talk, and then after that, oh wait, never mind. He put a question in the chat. But we'll let Jeff O'Toole has his hand raised, so we'll allow him to talk, and then Paul raised his hand back, so we'll let him talk after Jeff. So Jeff, let me ask him to unmute. Jeff.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, a couple questions. Thank you for having me. This is my first Zoom meeting. That aside, thank you for the presentation. It's very informative. What the slide that shocked me, and I might be wrong, right now, I have been using the Grand Township shuttle to get from Fox Lake to the VA. It's very important to me to get there and back. However, it's from one side of the county to the other. And then to North Chicago. And then, so now I'm wondering about these demographics, I'm just thinking this off the top of my head. If I look at some demographics, the most populous area would be Waukegan in the county. And then maybe somewhere like the Round Lake area or so or whatever. However, when I look at these fares that are straight across the board at $3.50 for each additional mile, for me, I would normally pay $4 each way for $8 round trip, and then I tip the guy. Which I know is not required, but that's just me being nice. So looking at this math, this would now cost me $3 for the first 5 miles. And then I still have 25 miles to go. 25 miles would equal $12.50. $12.50 plus 3 would be $15.50 each way. So my math again would make that about $32 round trip when it used to cost me $8. I understand that there's a basis for your structure here, and it's pretty simple across the board. But I don't see if you guys, if I lived in Waukegan, this would be great. Everything is within 5 miles, right? So yeah, pay the $3. But for us in the collar areas, it seems like we're paying maybe more than our fair share. And I just couldn't afford paying $30 to get to the VA and back. I'll just look to like Catholic Charities possibly, or some other organizations like Elder Care or some other places that provide some services instead. Your comments?
That's great feedback, and that's exactly the kind of comments and feedback that we're looking for as we prepare to bring information back to the board. So these initial fare structures we did look at the average trip length from services throughout the county. Most trips are within 5 miles for these trips, and so that's where this initial structure did come from. But no, this feedback is great for us to hear, and will be taken into consideration as we move forward with a final proposal for the board.
Okay, now I have, I'm going to ask Lake County Board Member Paul Frank has a question.
Thank you, Alex. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks for conducting this session, and I want to thank all the comments and questions. This sort of feedback is really fundamental to good policy development process, so thank you for that. My question is, have we considered the costs of moving to low emissions or no emissions vehicles as part of the paratransit plan? Are we looking at electric vehicles for this plan, and have we estimated any of those costs? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think as PACE as the operator of this service would ultimately be responsible for the vehicles that are provided for the service. And I know they are in the process right now of developing a new long range plan. It's actually open for public comment through August 20th. And my understanding is that is one of the top recommendations of their new long-range plan is to move towards those low emission and zero emission vehicles. So, I think ultimately it would be PACE who would be providing the vehicles or contracting for the vehicles. And so they could potentially be looking into that, but I know it is something they're considering in their new plan.
Okay, next we have Kelly Brooks, who Kelly has their hand up, and then I'll go back to written comments after that. And I know a couple other people have their hands raised, so we'll see if we can get back to them too. Just trying to balance out the hands raised and the chat. So I'm going to ask Kelly to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for taking my question. First of all, this is great news. I have a couple of questions. I know out in McHenry County, they are not charging riders. And I wonder if you've been able to collaborate with them on how they made it possible for their population. And the second question or comment I would like to make is, I noticed very quickly on the first slide, who, I don't know who the panelists are, but are you including the stakeholders as in riders or organizations that represent people with disabilities or seniors that will use this service moving forward?
Yes. So to answer the first part of your question, my understanding is that MC Ride in McHenry County does have a distance-based fare structure similar to ours. I believe the rates are slightly different, but it is a distance-based rate structure similar to our proposal. And in terms of the groups, we have presented this as well in our outreach through the Lake County Coordinated Transportation Services Committee, and many of those agencies are represented in there as well.
Moving forward, will you be including on this new panel or committee as the project moves forward, those organizations?
So right now we don't anticipate necessarily having a standing committee, although that is being discussed right now, because we would not be looking for funding partners from outside agencies. We would be the county would be responsible for the service, and so that's still open for discussion at this point.
Okay, we're going to look forward to further discussions on this. And this, again, this is great news for people with disabilities and seniors in Lake County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat now. We got a bunch in there, and we might have some time to go back to people raising their hands. I think we will. So I'm going to go with Nancy Shaeffer now, asking, explain what you mean by curb to curb. Will users have to wait outside in bad weather for the van to show up?
So curb to curb service means that riders need to be able to get from their location to the vehicle themselves or with someone that's traveling with them. I believe that drivers will wait for 5 minutes once they arrive to allow people to get out to the vehicle. So there is time that people don't have to wait out in the weather. But that curb to curb service means that the drivers are not able to assist people in and out of their house or in and out of their appointments.
Okay, thank you. Next question from the chat. Steve Carlson asks, as a former member of the LCCTSC for many years, how did we make this happen and how is it paid for? I'm not sure if he answered it, but I know a lot of people might have joined in the middle, so it's always good to, if you've already said that answer, you can say it again if you want, Mike.
Sure. So we anticipate the service being funded through a combination of PACE subsidies, federal funding, and county funds making up the balance. And really, McHenry County's MC Ride program moving to this countywide model in January helped as a catalyst as we were looking to develop this program coming out of the lead agency working group. So this is a new model that we've been looking at. but by the county providing that local match and not requiring funding from municipalities and townships, we can ensure that we reach truly a countywide borderless service and provide this for all of our residents throughout Lake County.
All right, next in the chat, if I say this wrong, I apologize. Brenna Gamson asks, or in early slides showing the current service area, left out areas of Moraine Township. Why was that?
That earlier slide came from our paratransit market study, and it just shows the complexity of the services throughout the area, and perhaps it's the Ride Lake County services that show Moraine not be included in what she's referring to. So our existing Ride Lake County West and Ride Lake County Central services only cover a portion of the county, but this proposed service would cover Moraine and countywide.
All right, next question's from Robin. Has the Niles free bus model been considered with the set route and schedule?
We have not looked at that. So the paratransit service is really designed to be an on-demand, flexible service, not a fixed route service for people with disabilities and seniors who are really not able to adapt to a fixed route service. So we have not looked at that sort of fixed route model for paratransit.
Dodie has a question regarding payment. Dodie's asking, is the service just going to be cash only? Dodie mentioned that the electronic card like the RTA has Ventra in Chicago would be nice.
Yeah, so right now paratransit services throughout the region are operating on a cash basis, and we anticipate that would likely be the case for our service as well. We will look to coordinate with PACE and our as the operator of the service to see if there's other options that could be available. But I would say right now we anticipate that it being a cash service.
This one's from Char Comperta. Is it still going to be? Is it going to be where you can only get service if you live 3/4 of a mile from a bus stop?
So PACE is required to provide ADA paratransit service for users within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route bus service. This Ride Lake County service would be available to all eligible riders, those seniors 60 and above, and riders with disabilities anywhere throughout the county. So not just within 3/4 of a mile of fixed route service, but anywhere throughout Lake County.
And I know you got some of these, we might be getting some repeat-ish kind of questions, but some of them are just good to repeat, especially for those just joining. But Mark Peters is asking, will this service work on the weekends?
Yes, so with the exception of holidays, we anticipate this being 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, and as well as Saturdays and Sundays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So with the exception of holidays, yes, it would operate on the weekends.
And I know you addressed this a little bit too, and we heard a comment, but just one more. Is there a way to make this more affordable for persons who have limited incomes? For individuals who work, this could be half of their hourly wage.
So that is something that we have heard in our other stakeholder meetings, and something that we are very seriously looking into. It is definitely under consideration, and we are looking to see if that's something we can incorporate. So right now, I don't have a solid yes or no on that, but we are strongly looking into that and hoping that it's something that could be incorporated.
This one's from Cindy Hausner. Are there plans in the future to expand the service to evening hours, as many of our adaptive sports programs take place in the evenings?
That's great feedback. So I think that is something that we would look at to adjust the service hours to see if we're not hitting the right times. Right now, what we did is we looked at the dial-a-ride services that are taking place throughout the region and what the average start and end times for those were. And actually our service is a little bit longer than those averages, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We do plan on tracking that if if riders are looking for rides outside those times, that yes, we could look to expand in the future either the parameters, the service hours. That is something that could be looked at in the future.
This is another question. I know he's talked about this a lot, but this is great for anyone that has just joined. Bill's asking, what kind of transportation are we talking about? Pace only, Uber type, other? Could you just give a little breakdown of that?
Yeah, so right now PACE operates the service through ADA accessible vehicles. There could be some scenarios, depending on the volume of riders, where if riders don't have mobility limitations, that there could be other vehicles used when booking a trip, for example, a cab or some other vehicle. But I would say for most riders, it would likely be an ADA accessible, wheelchair accessible vehicle.
Kristen Paz is asking, how are you going to determine whether a person has a disability? Will they have to apply or present something? Yeah, she goes into a little bit, but I think that's, how are you going to determine whether a person has disability and will they have to apply or present something?
So we anticipate right now that riders would need to inform PACE that they have a disability when they're registering for the service, and that would be included in their rider file. We're still finalizing the details of what I guess documentation may need to be included in that. So if there is specific items that will be included in materials that are when we roll out the service for implementation. But right now we anticipate that riders would need to inform PACE when they register for the service.
We have a question from Marianne Gartner. Marianne wants to know, I know this is a services countywide, but is there a transfer spot to get to O'Hare?
So right now we anticipate this service, really being operated throughout Lake County. I think it is something that is open for future discussion of how this service would coordinate with MC Ride in McHenry County and trips into Cook County. So it's something that we can look into the future and how this could expand beyond Lake County borders. Right now, we do anticipate the service area just being in Lake County, but there could be connections made to those other areas in the future.
Here's a follow-up question from Steve Carlson. How is this program linked to 211?
So we anticipate that 211 will be able to direct callers to PACE's call center. And then all registrations and ride trips will be booked through PACE's call center. So it's just that one number and one agency for riders to be able to book trips throughout the county.
My next, we got a question. I'm going to take probably 3 more chats and then we'll take a couple people that raised their hand. I know they've been wanting to speak. This one is from, if I say it wrong, I apologize, Anka Stark. Just asking the time frame will be expanded from before 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. for those that work earlier or later than the current rush hour transportation time frame. And then Anka's also wondering if we'll provide a copy of the PowerPoint.
Yeah, so to answer the second part of that, first we will post this PowerPoint presentation on our website. It'll be posted probably tomorrow. And we will have this up there. And as mentioned, these initial hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. can be looked at. This is the kind of feedback that we're looking for. If these hours of operation should be adjusted, those are the kind of comments that we are looking for, and those hours could be looked to be adjusted either before we start the service or even after the service is initiated. It could be future expansion.
Two more chat questions, and I'll go back to the phones. This is from Joanne again. Is how are the routes mapped? Is the route made manually or is there software? How are those determined?
That's probably a question for PACE as rides are booked through their call center. My understanding is that they estimate the time a trip will take based on the time that a fixed route bus would cover the same distance, as well as they have that 30-minute pickup window that gets factored in as well. But I'm not sure all the details of the routing system. So that's something that perhaps we can look into a little more.
Our last chat before I go back to the phones, Emily wants to know, will the county consider subsidizing the cost of rides to key locations like the health department, job center, courts, fairgrounds, key locations like that?
So that is something that's been discussed, and Chair Hart, did you want to jump in on that one? Or?
Yes, if you don't mind, and thank you, Emily, for that really great question. There are other counties, I'm not sure if they're in the state of Illinois or not, but other counties that do provide free transportation services to the health department for vaccination appointments, behavioral health appointments, things like that, as well as to court appointments, because studies show that oftentimes people miss court dates because of transportation issues. And sometimes that can result in a warrant for somebody's arrest. And so instead of having a deputy go out and track somebody down and bring them in a police car, perhaps we could positively impact people showing up for court if we can help them get there physically. So I really appreciate that question. We're kind of learning more about how that's working in other counties. So thank you for thinking about that.
All right, so I'll go back to the phones now. Thank you, Chair Hart and Mike. I'll go back to the phones now. And then I think we'll have a couple minutes to go back to chat, but we'll see. This is Mary Lou Overton. I'm gonna unmute you in a second. Okay, it looks like I'll have to come back to you, Mary Lou. The next one's Tom Weber.
Actually, it's his legislative aide, Sharon Langlotz Johnson. Tom's on another call right now. I just have a couple of questions. So what is there a budget already listed for this?
So we have, Lake County DOT has put some program funding in our 5-year capital program. But right now, we just have estimates of the cost, and the board still needs to take action on approving moving into this service. So we'll finalize the budget. So we do have some I guess program level estimates and have program funds in our 5-year capital program.
Is that available somewhere?
Yes, it's on our website.
Oh, because I can't find it anywhere.
We can get that to you, no problem.
Okay, and now you said you would not be willing to work with the townships and the Lake County coordinated system, or?
So we anticipate that this will be a countywide service, and that basically the existing township services would kind of be rolled into this larger countywide service. And so if those individual township services want to operate in addition to our service, they could, but this would be an umbrella service that would operate throughout the county.
So they would not, so an individual would not be able to call the township to make a transportation appointment, correct?
So that's correct. Currently, the dial-a-ride services that are operated by our townships, riders do call the PACE call center to book those rides right now. And so it would be the same system. They would call the PACE call center. The difference would be that the geography of the service would be countywide rather than just an individual township service. Rather
than the 6 township wide sections that they have, the different systems. Yes. Someone had mentioned the cash system that you have, or that you're proposing. There is a sort of credit card system that I know the chairwoman knows that I'm a retired township supervisor. We used our own credit card system, so we did not have to, actually use cash. They just swipe the card and they can add funds online. So that's some information I can get you. But the other thing was that the disabled, if you are disabled, you must have proof for PACE that you're disabled. Most people use their Social Security disability statement for that, but it must be proof. And it has to be certified through somebody. Generally, those are certified through the townships. Would the county have a specific person to do that for the townships instead?
That's something that we would need to, I think, work out with PACE and how that would operate. Those are details that we are still finalizing as we're finalizing our proposal.
So is this a for sure thing? Because it looked to me like it was a maybe. It looked like it was still pending board approval.
Yes, that is correct. It is. We have been given direction by the county board's Public Works, Transportation, and Planning Committee to look into this this proposed service and what the costs and operations are. And so we are gathering public feedback and stakeholder input right now, but it does need to go through the county board for approval.
And when is the board approval supposed to be?
We anticipate reporting back to the board in September, and then that there could be board action as early as September.
Which date?
It'd be the September board meeting, likely, I think the September 1st Public Works, Planning and Transportation Committee.
And thank you for all those questions. We have a number of chats, so I did move on because I know we have some on the phone, and then we have a number still in the chat that I just want to get to here in the last couple minutes before you do the same presentation again at 5. But if anyone does have questions that we don't get to, our contact information is there, and you're welcome to reach out. We're happy to speak more with you. I think so. Mary Lou, I have you with your hand raised. Unfortunately, the Zoom platform's just not letting me, for whatever reason, unmute you, but I wrote your name down and we will reach out to you to answer any questions you have. So I apologize for that. I will go back to the chat. So this one's from Judy Nickel. Will multi-ride punch tickets be made available?
I think that's something that we're still working to finalize all of the various ticketing options as we finalize this service. So that's something that we will be considered.
This one's from Kristen Poss. Since the fare is distance-based, will it be calculated and told to the caller when making a reservation?
Yes, when scheduling a reservation, they'll need both the address where a rider will be picked up and where they're going, and so that will be used to calculate the fare.
Henry is asking, do we need a special PACE card for this?
Not as of right now. We anticipate that riders will be able to register through PACE, and then they can call the call center to book rides.
Emily Maturo, is concerned that a 6 p.m. cutoff time may make it difficult for people, especially they're using service to get home from work or going to a medical appointment. Is there any consideration of extending this service an hour or an hour and a half later?
Yes, absolutely, and that's great feedback for us. That's exactly the kind of comments and feedback that we're looking for as we do this. So yes, we will be looking, if there is demand for that, and interest in extending those hours, that's the kind of feedback we're looking for. So yes, absolutely, it would be considered.
we got Linda Soto did mention in the chat that the Venture card will be available for paratransit. This is a reloadable mass transit card that you can use credit card on. Venture vending machines are in place at many retail stores or over the phone. So that's just good information that Linda shared there. I know a lot of people had questions on that. Chris,
Thank you.
yeah, Kristen also, Kristen Potts actually had another, had a follow-up question. Is there a possibility of setting up a subscription type service for rides that occur often, such as daily rides to work? And I think that was similar to the punch card, right, Mike? The answer?
Yeah, I think so. And we do think a subscription service, at least some limited subscription services, could be made available. So, you know, Pace would need, I guess, or riders would need to demonstrate to Pace that, you know, this is a consistent trip that's happening regularly, and then that could be coordinated with through Pace's call center for a subscription service. So a rider wouldn't need to call every day for those trips that are happening regularly. So in some limited cases, if there was demonstrated need of those, we think that yes, that's something that could be made available.
Jeff Mouse is asking, are service animals allowed?
I believe so, yes, but we will confirm that with Pace and respond.
Joanne's asking, would there be a way to set up a ride through an app, website, or email?
So right now, we anticipate that rides will just be booked through Pace's call center. Perhaps that's something that could be implemented in the future, but we do think right now, at least at the initial launch of this countywide service, that it would be via phone through Pace's call center.
Teresa Springer is asking, will this eliminate the ADA service or be in addition to?
So this would be in addition to the ADA service within 3/4 of a mile of fixed route service. So that would still be operated, and then this would be in addition to provide countywide paratransit.
I think we're going to take about two. I think we're going to take about 2 more questions because I know, Mike, you need to prepare for the 5 o'clock one. But if we don't get to questions, we could certainly. You know, we will be answering at the end of that presentation as well after 5. So people are more than welcome to stick around, or they're welcome to contact us directly, and we're happy to get back to you as well for any questions that we aren't able to answer. This question is from Kevin. Is there a way you could coordinate with the townships a flat fee that would be billed to the township and where the township could then turn around and provide the service for free to its taxpayers?
That's something that could be looked into. I don't think that's something that we've considered to this point. I think the goal was to provide a countywide, you know, sort of seamless service that would be a pretty easy service to administrate both for the county and for the riders. And so that's something that could be looked into, but I don't think it's something that we have considered to this point.
Okay, and then you know, last question. Well, and then like I said, we are doing a presentation at 5 again. It is going to be the same information, but Chuck Bartels, you know, mentioned that he joined late. You know, so in Highland, in Southeast Lake County, Highland Park especially had a system that really worked for the urban area. Are the existing paratransits in those areas going to be part of this plan now?
So we anticipate that you know, it could be that those services do remain. It's really going to be up to the individual townships if they want to maintain their existing services. But we do anticipate that we would the existing Pace subsidies that are provided throughout the county for the various dial rides would be rolled into this larger countywide service as part of the funding package for this service. So we see this as mentioned, kind of an umbrella service throughout the county, but there could be additional township services on top of that as well.
Thank you. So that, like I said, we got to many of the questions. I know there were some we weren't able to get to, but we really do want people to provide feedback. And so online, email us, call us, through August 18th. We're more than happy to hear from you. We want to hear from you. So thank you everyone that joined tonight. Mike's gonna get prepared for that 5 o'clock presentation. So Mike, is there anything, or anyone else on our panel, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up and get ready for the 5 p.m. presentation?
I just thank everyone for their participation today and their questions and comments and feedback. Please do submit questions and comments through our website, through email. We do want to hear them, and it will help us put together a valuable service for the residents of Lake County. So thank you everyone for your time today.